Well, good morning, and welcome to a surprise good morning walk. Because I'm probably not going to be able to do a good morning walk for you this weekend. I have plans, as they say. Of course, depending on what happens soon, maybe that might change. We'll have to see. But needless to say, doing a special one for you all today. It's Liz's birthday, Liz's B-day, as they say. So, I thought, why not do a Jubilee edition today? So, bank holiday, long bank holiday, obviously for this type of massive celebration, which I think is really good because we don't get enough, to be honest, bank holidays here in the UK. So I'm more than happy to at least, wave the flag at least, once, and I can say, thanks for the extra time off, Liz, But yeah, I'm not a massive monarchist. I don't even really care, to be honest. Obviously there are arguments, for and against, obviously, keeping the monarchy, and to be honest, I really just don't care. I just don't care. It just doesn't affect me. So, well, I suppose it does in a way, but it's just a case of whatever. In this case, I've got some doggos. Oh, you been? Oh, where have you been? You've definitely been in the river. You've definitely dunked yourselves. They've definitely dunked themselves in the river. Oh, go on. Oh, been for a swim.
Cool themselves down.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, baby.
But yes, it is an actual really, really nice day today. I think it's set to be quite a nice weekend as well, which would be quite nice. So yeah, we'll just have to obviously see what happens. But yeah, I know this is probably going to be like the most unwatched live stream I do, because I'm live streaming at 9 o'clock and surprised everyone with it. But nonetheless, to those of you who are watching, good morning to you. Oh, there you go. You can see me there. But, yes. What an absolutely gorgeous morning it is. But yes, on to what we normally talk about, which is, of course, the political stuff. So, what's been going on recently? Oh, well, in the case, what could happen potentially maybe in a couple of weeks? As you probably all already know, there is a situation brewing in the Conservative Party where a lot of people are heavily thinking, they are thinking there is going to be an electoral contest, certainly within the next couple of weeks. And to be honest, the way this is going, this seems to be the longest, slowest fuse in political history. And I certainly have to agree with that. Getting rid of Boris at this moment in time certainly seems to be the ideal option. Because if you've got an election 2 years sort of from now, happening in 2024, this is the best time to get rid of Boris. It is the best time. Because at least they've got 2 years to try and salvage what they can out of this. And I think whoever the next leader is, probably Liz Truss, unfortunately, but that depends on how the that massively depends on how the contest goes. They're going to have a fun time. Ultimately, with the way that voting intentions are at the moment, it's very likely it's going to be a hung parliament. Very likely it's going to be a Labour, Lib parliament. So we'll have to see, obviously, what happens. Certainly, their manifestos are going to be interesting to read. Hopefully, there is a big push at this year's Labour conference to get proportional representation and, reforming the election of how we elect our MPs. But I've said before, it's not just the MPs as well. We need to focus on House of Lords as well. Would also be a massive change to our politics. So that will be great if we could change that as well. But it also comes down to what else are they going to put on? And I think it's really going to come down to, cost of living. So you've got energy, try to increase people's wages. So I think certainly reach out to the unions and really, really, really get them on side for the next election. Give them certainly more rights, more power, more access. But again, Starmer's already doing that. We've talked about before about how he wants to, get unions full access to parties, which would be fantastic. Hang on. Got a comment there. Oh, there we go. So much dust on my phone. I can't lie. Morning. Just watched the Jeff Andre video you posted. Andre Walker appeals to be the sort of person who can't let anyone of criticism of him rest. Is the personality of a spoiled child. Very true. Yeah. He definitely came off like that. I think the idea of him crowing about it in the way he uploaded that video is like he quote wrecked, what is it, Peter, I can't remember his name now, but it was Peter something. But he was the guy who runs Labour List. To be honest, I felt he could have done a lot better. There was so much stuff he could have thrown at them and just made the entire panel just look like complete idiots. And I think most of the criticism he could have, thrown would have been incredibly valued at them. And he wouldn't, they would have had no recourse to come back on him. He could have done so much more stuff. So much more stuff he could have thrown at Galloway. So much more stuff he could have thrown at that, what's-her-face, the model person, reminding them about, what TOS actually is, So there was a ton of stuff he could have thrown at them, but he didn't. And I felt, he was quite weak, but, that style of like interviewing and debate is quite hard to do in the person in the moment. So, I am willing to cut him some slack on that because it's not difficult. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy position to be in, but certainly he could have done more. He could have done so much more and been a lot more prepared, especially on the Galloway front as well. Yeah, I don't think he was a seasoned interviewee, quite right. Yeah, yeah. But that's the point of a channel like, like GB News or GBBs, as I suppose we call it over here. That's the whole point of it. It's to get on like the weakest possible person you can, so that it makes your side look better. You know, they're never ever going to ask any of the other like lefty commentators on, or anyone like that. They're only going to ask people who they think are going to come across as weak or sort of very feeble. And not that that guy came across as weak. He did have a good, you know, couple of hits on Galloway, certainly, and he got some points off as we do last night, but he could have done so much better. And I think it's one of those things where if you do enough of those interviews, you get experience in it, but it's also about preparation as well. So if you know for a fact that the topic of conversation is going to be, you know, the lefties like freedom of speech, there are so many examples out there he could have pulled of right-wingers going after like freedom of speech and like and people who the right have cancelled and going after them for that. So, you know, he should have been pulling out those. And I felt that a bit of like pre-research, because he would have been told what he was going on that program to discuss. So I do feel like if he'd had a bit of a stronger showing, a bit of a more stronger researched background about the topic, it would be worth it. But I also share the same sort of ambivalence to him about that topic as well, because I've said before, I really do not like, I really do not like on my, like discussing on my channel, culture war stuff. It's pointless. It is an absolute distraction, right? There is no problem, right? There is no problem, despite how many right-wingers will tell you so. There is no problem with freedom of speech in the UK. As it stands at the moment, no problem. You know, look at me what I'm doing now. It's fine. But yeah, it's to be honest, a massive cultural war issue. So I understand if he went on there or just went, why should I bother? But at the same time, if you're going on a channel like that, you need to sort of prepare for it. Anyway, back to Ben. GBN is a channel to massage the insecurities of the right, hard right, like Fox News done in the States. Yeah, exactly. That's why it exists. But to be honest, it does it very badly. Very badly. The numbers it has are not good. But as we said before back at the time, it is not going to be allowed to fail. So much money has been pumped into that channel, it will not be allowed to fail. Andrew Palmer. Time for Starmer to get his arse in gear. He needs to set out some policy for those grassroots for what they are fighting for. Yes, what I've been saying for a long time on the Good Morning Walk, indeed. The Wakefield by-election is a perfect time for him to put out a manifesto and lay out exactly what it is, you know, what he stands for, what he does, and sort of what policies he are. I mean, I can name a few Labour policies. The increasing of labour union rights. That's one that has been talked about. We've got Rachel Reeves, who, if Labour get in and she becomes the Chancellor, would be the most green Chancellor the UK has ever had. She's been put forward some fantastic policies. The only one they are missing out, which I think they really need to look into, is the decarbonisation of the steel industry. I bang on about that constantly. That would be a massive vote winner if you can get that across. But it's about actually doing it, you know, and having that stuff put into it. But we'll see. Nope. Just thinking the dogs are going to come across at the moment. Anyway, what other comments have we had? This is the problem when it's shining like this. I can't read the screen almost. Where were we? Starmer. Yep. There we go. Foods of some of those Brexiteers. Translated from Danish national news. Sacre bleu. French gamers might think for the French government has just decided that the authorities would no longer use English gaming terms. Oh, I saw that. That was weird. But that's part of French culture. They do that all the time. There's no Englishization of words in France to happen. Years-long struggles to provide the French language. Yeah, pro gamer. Yeah, doesn't surprise me. Best time in your life to smash the Tories. Yep. Yeah, that's really it. It is the best time ever to just go ahead and just completely wipe them out. You know, these two next coming up by-elections going to be so important, so important. You know, Wakefield needs to go to Labour and Taverton needs to go to the Lib Dems, and that will set off alarm bells ringing. And I'll tell you what, if Johnson hasn't been replaced by then, those two by-elections, again going to Labour and the Lib Dems, will almost certainly guarantee that he gets the boot, because he ain't staying. He is not staying after such a disastrous by-election defeat like that. You know, we've talked before about the Tory nightmare scenario. Oh, there we go. So yeah, we've talked before about what the nightmare scenario is for the Tories. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting. That is really going to set the cat amongst the pigeons. Really going to set the cat amongst the pigeons on that. Yeah. It's going to be very interesting if that happens. The other thing I wanted to talk about today, actually, is, as you know, Johnson is in a spot of trouble. You know, just a little spot of trouble. But with the Conservative Party conference coming up, this is an actual opportunity for the Conservative Party to replace him, because there could be a vote of no confidence by the larger Conservative Party. And as I often, you know, tell you all, the Conservative Party, just like the Labour Party, is sort in two separate entities. There is the parliamentary party and then the non-parliamentary party. And it is the non-parliamentary party where, if you remember, in 2019, Johnson basically got rid of a load of centrist, moderate Tories who were dead set against him. And where did they end up? They all ended up in the non-parliamentary party. All his enemies have been there, stoking up that anger, getting and trying to push to get rid of him. So it could be that a vote could happen there, you know, put forward by the non-parliamentary party. So that could happen, and I think their conference is in the next couple of weeks. So that could be very interesting if that happens. And then, of course, we go into a leadership contest. And as I've said before, it will be a knockout slugfest of a leadership contest. Yeah, snowball will definitely start rolling. You are right on that, Andrew. This is Nadine Dorries for leader. Oh my word, no. Nadine Dorries will never, even if she puts a hat in the ring, she will never win. Like, Nadine Dorries will not win. She does not have the popularity for it, you know. She's not that popular amongst her parliamentary colleagues. Remember how the vote works is, first of all, you've got to get nominated by at least 5 other current MPs, and then you go into the sort of the first couple of rounds where, again, there'll be votes, and it's all about securing how many MPs you can secure to you, what you can give, what you can offer to them. And one of the big things is, if Johnson goes, 2 big key positions come up. 2 big key positions come up, because there is no way any future leader, even if it becomes Liz or Rishi, both the Treasury position and the Foreign Secretary, and probably the Home Secretary, come up for grabs. That's 3 big promotion offers. That is, that is proper bribing territory. And as we've said before, because the Tory party has been split into all these different factions, you could go, oh, ERG faction, if your guys, back me, then I'm willing to give the current head of the ERG the Foreign Secretary position. COVID recovery group. Oh, you don't like we've been spending so much, do you? Well, tell you what, you guys back me. Here's the Treasury position for you. That is literally what is on offer. Certainly at the next, Conservative, shall we say, position. This is why it's going to be so brutal, because I think the entire cabinet position offers are going to be up for grabs, because I don't think, regardless whoever wins it, is going to keep the current cabinet as it is. So all those positions are going to be up for grabs. So there is promotion opportunities aplenty up for grabs within the party at the moment. It is going to be absolute bedlam. And I think the more this drags out, the worse it really is for them. It's been said before by a lot of other Conservative MPs and a lot of other people that they've convinced themselves that Johnson is like the only guy who can lead their party. What does that say? What does that say about the current state of the Conservative Party? I suppose Rishi's the most likely one for the job. Not necessarily. I've talked about this before, but if it comes down to the last 2 in the voting, and you get sort of Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak in that last 2 voting, Liz Truss walks it, because she's the most popular member in the Conservative Party, by a country mile. She is ridiculously popular, and when they get to vote, they get so much power. And if she gets to the final 2, she wins. Honestly, it's not a competition if Liz Truss gets to the final 2. It really isn't. And here's some ponies for you. Jubilee ponies for you. Yeah, one. Carry on. Whoop. There we go. Yeah, it's like Liz Truss wins. Like seriously, it's not even funny how easily she could walk it if she gets to the final two. Now, of course, obviously it's a leadership contest, so you don't know what could happen. You know, she might have a series of really bad interviews, but it's possible. If she gets to the final two, she's won. Her popularity alone almost guarantees her ascension to the job. Andre, Southwest fishermen and farmers are on the edge with lots of Lib Dems to win. Businesses, they will be very hit badly because of Brexit. Will the light bulb finally go on? Probably. I think one of the big things is that farmers, we saw this in the Cheshire and Amersham. We got some Swan Watch. One of the big things in the Cheshire and Amersham debrief was that the farmers, their traditional voting base, were abandoning them because of Brexit and the lack of support that the Conservatives were offering them. So they have jumped over to the Lib Dems for this. They've lost a lot of support, and whenever we've covered this support or this realignment of Conservatives, a lot of the pollsters and like the people in the Conservative Party always talk about Boris abandoning his the core Conservative voter base. And that is right. If he abandons that, there's a lot of people who will jump over to the Lib Dems. And that's where the blue wall becomes infinitely more threatened. And Boris has pushed the party even further to the right, partly because of the UKIP infiltration that happened after 2016. And almost certainly the fact that a lot of that UKIP base that went back into the party after years of being away flooded the party with ideas of, right-wing. They flooded the party with all these ideas of, right-wing free market fundamentalism. And as a result, more of those MPs have been elected. And that's part of the state why the Tory party is in at the moment. Because they've elected, the party has elected ever more progressive, well, not progressive, ever more sort of, right-wing MPs. It's all been there laid out. As we talked about before, the seeds of Conservative Party civil war. And when it breaks, and it will break, it will be the likes of which we haven't seen before. This could actually generally take down the Tories. It could seriously take them down massively. It's just what's going to set it off. And I think it could very well be this leadership election. I really do think it could be. Jake Link. Grain supplies are about to hit an all-time low. Per global population, abandon your nation's farmers is just not it's not politically astute, but a national security issue. Yeah, very, very true. Very, very, very true. Oh, Daily Blaze. Good morning to you. Just seeing you sneak in there. It is true. The idea of abandoning farmers at this point is completely ridiculous. Or as in the case of the ELMs, the Environmental Land Management Scheme, trying to turn farmers from, farmers into, environmental wardens isn't really going to be helpful. Oh, Catherwald 100, good morning to you. But yeah, this is going to be, it's going to be interesting, to say the least. It's going to be very, very interesting. And I think one of the bigger questions we have to ask is, how is Starmer going to lead what is essentially a hung parliament? How is he going to lead it? What proposals is he going to take through? What stuff from the Lib Dems is he going to say, well, okay, since we're in coalition, we'll take that idea. Maybe we'll, compromise on this idea a bit. What exactly is he going to do? Because especially if you're in a hung parliament, you sort of really have to compromise. You have to be pragmatic, and you have to realign your goals of what you want to do, and look at what the other party wants to achieve as well. I think we're going to see a lot of investment, certainly from them. Both Labour and the Lib Dems have talked about the serious need to really invest into the country. I think electoral reform is almost a guarantee, from both parties, especially as we are seeing a massive push from the Labour, especially at the upcoming conference, again, to get PR on the national agenda. I think that will be a massive step forward, but not just for, as we've said before, the House of Commons, but the House of Lords as well. And like I say, both would be fantastic. One would be fantastic as well, because even if you just manage to change the one, it will fundamentally change British politics forever, like permanently. And that goes for, even if you change the House of Lords, like a House of Regional Representatives. So it is a really big advantage. I work in retail. I don't get bank holidays and off unless I happen to be on holidays. Well, that's true. I think we should have more bank holidays. I mean, this year in particular, because of the Queen's Jubilee, we've got more bank holidays than ever before. So I think we really need to get some, more bank holidays on the book as well. The flies are out in force today. But yeah, it does come down to what policies is Starmer going to put forward. And like I say, we've seen a few. We've seen a few put forward by, Ed Miliband, Rachel Reeves, put forward of what a Labour government would do. But I think Starmer really, really needs to do a manifesto. I really think he does. And I've talked about this going back 2 years now of what Starmer needs to do, because it would help define him, and it would help define the current Labour Party as well. Yeah, stop the Tories ever having power again. That will pretty much happen. If it comes to PR, the Tories, I think it's been shown before in in other results, that the Tories would never ever get more than something like 34% of the vote, and they were never able to have a majority again. The party would be made up of sort of more, more right-wingers. And in fact, that would actually be, a more good thing for British politics as well, because the current Tory party is on a hard right trajectory, a massive hard right trajectory. And I think if we got PR in and it stopped them on this trajectory, they would have to move back towards the centre. We'd start to have a more reasonable Conservative Party again, which overall would be a good thing. Because as I've said before, sometimes you do need to work with, opposition MPs, especially if you want to sort of do something really good and impactful. You need, that opposition support with you as well. And I think even in a PR parliament where we've got that change, I think parties working together to get stuff done is a really valuable goal, to get stuff over the line. And you don't see that in our current parliament unless it's really a hung parliament. And even then, it's never 100% guaranteed, as we saw with the Conservative Liberal parliament. So ultimately, it would be quite a good thing to at least push the Conservatives back to a more moderate position. Because eventually what would happen, under a PR system, the far right would probably split off and make their own party. Certainly as we've seen, the Reform Party in the next general election has announced just a couple of days ago, Richard Trice has said he's going to stand at least like 600 candidates. And once again, it's UKIP back in action almost. Correct, 33 is the number. Number minorities rule. Democracy's delusion rigged in the rules. Oh, it's good to see Miliband when he speaks in Parliament. Yeah, it is. I will say this now. Miliband is probably a really good shoo-in. If Starmer goes, if Starmer gets a fine and he steps down, honestly, Ed Miliband is a really good shout to be leader again. I know Angela Rayner will probably want it as well, although she got fined as well, so that probably puts her out of the running as well. But honestly, Miliband is probably like the best candidate if we have another leadership election because of Starmer gets fined. Ed Miliband is probably like our best bet because he's come along so much. Yeah, it can't be Rayner, I think, because Rayner's also getting a fine as well because she was there as well. Like I say, both her and Starmer, I think it was just a couple of days ago, both announced they've gotten their questionnaires from the police. So we'll have to see what happens. I think if she doesn't get a fine, then yeah, run for it. I'm more than happy to see that happen. What would be quite interesting, of course, would I think if Rayner got leadership and Ed got deputy. I seriously think that could be a very good team. I think that could be a very, very good team with them leading on that. Couldn't make my mind up if that was... Because moderates are always correct. It's not a case of moderates always being correct. It's the fact that moderates, at least in either in a under the current system we have under first past the post, the more moderate conservatives are for rejoining the EU. Today we're going to go over that piece that has been written that's causing quite a stir. Again, of a Tory MP calling to rejoin the single market. We've got other Tory MPs who recognise, again, the more moderates, who recognise that having regulations is a good thing, compared to their counterparts who are like, no, we need to absolutely ditch, any form of regulation, like 100%, we need to get rid of it. And of course, the more moderate Tories do recognise and understand the need to sort of help people out. Now, of course, they aren't probably willing to maybe go the whole hog in some of those proposals, but at least if it was an FTP system where Labour had a small minority, we wouldn't just have to work with the Lib Dems to get stuff passed. We'd probably have to work with those more moderate Tory MPs as well to get stuff passed. That's just parliamentary politics. That's just how the game is played. And even under a first past the post system, not a first past the post system, like a PR system, it does really benefit you to work with the more moderates in a party. That's just how the system goes. You see this in other countries as well. So it's just how politics is played. It's just how it's done. Sometimes you've got to be pragmatic about how you do things. It still means I'm, very much a lefty and very much a progressive, and I do like a lot of socialist ideas and stuff that they want to do, which we've talked about before on this channel. So to get stuff done, sometimes you have to work with people from other parties. Just how politics works. And I worry in particular, you'd have a lot more of the extremists from either end would refuse to work with other parties to get stuff done. So there's no way like the current Jacob Rees-Mogg or anything like that would be willing to work to put actual solutions into the current cost of living crisis. Jacob Rees-Mogg's position, like many of the other far right position, is cut taxes, cut all this quote unquote red tape, and have be done with it. But no, you need to actually help people. You need to actually invest, in industries or areas, and really get stuff moving. And the more moderates are willing to do that. They're willing to, to see those ideas work. So if the quality of outcome is life improves for people, I've said before, we'd work with, it's not a bad idea to work with other people from other parties, Morning.
Morning.
Tally ho, boy. Shove your Jubilee up your Jubilee, Spencer. English Viking, good morning to you. Here's the thing. I think I said this before at the start of the video. I'm not not a massive monarchist, you know. I'm not a massive monarchist at all. I really don't care, to be honest, at the end of the day. You know, if we get a holiday every so often, that's fine by me. Of course, there are arguments and for against the monarchy, I know them. But to be honest, I really don't care. There's bigger fish to fry at the moment than crying and worrying about the monarchy. You know, we've got a lot more bigger fish to fry, namely removing the Tories being the biggest. So yeah, as always, thank you very much for joining me on this Jubilee special edition Good Morning Walk. Like I said, I decided to do it the last spur of the moment. It's very likely I'm probably not going to be able to do a Good Morning Walk this weekend. And of course, the week after, I'm off to Bruges. So you might see some videos of me out in Bruges and talking about British politics while I'm out over in Belgium. So that's going to be quite fun. Fingers crossed the travel chaos will be over. But needless to say, it's going to be quite fun. Like I said, I'm taking the Eurostar. So that's going to be quite fun because I've always wanted to take the Eurostar and do the train. So I'm going from obviously London to Brussels and then training it by Brussels to Bruges. So that's going to be quite fun, I think. So yeah. Yeah, thank you again once again for joining me. Yeah, please do remember to hit that like, share and subscribe button on your way out. Of course, links down below. You can join the Pony Club, the YouTube subscription button, and get access to all sorts of fun badges and widgets and who's it's. And of course, there's a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee where you can buy me a coffee. Shouldn't have worn my jacket. It's getting too hot. So yeah, as always, thank you very much for joining me on the Good Morning Walk today. This not Saturday edition, but yeah, thank you very much for joining. It's going to be fun. It's going to be very, very much fun. Enjoy your weekend if you are in the UK. Enjoy your very long bank holiday weekend today and tomorrow. And yes, get out, enjoy yourselves. And like I say, you know, there's bigger fish to fry than getting rid of the monarchy at the moment. You know, in, you know, sort of political priorities, they're sort of very, very much down there getting rid of the monarchy. We've got far bigger problems to tackle in the UK than them at the moment. So, as always, thank you very much for joining me. Have fun, go out, enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you all next time. Probably in Brussels for potentially a good morning walk.